I forget when we had you on last year, but you're like, we're going to live by the sword and die by the sword. You almost died by it in Itapema, and then you freaking lived on it. Yeah. Was it ever tough to stick by it, especially as the end of the year, maybe some of the film got out and you guys had a mini dip relative to the lofty standards you expected?
No, I mean, I think that's the reason why we are where we're at. Everyone, I mean, these blockers are nasty. So
yeah.
It's pretty tough when they're just sitting on you. Like, you know, teams will serve you in system on purpose just so the blocker can line up. Mm-hmm. I think having Miles there to push me through like some moments where I'm like, maybe I should like go away from it. Like Miles is siding out great. Mm-hmm. And it's funny, like when we're on the court, he's like, no, I want you to hit him. And I'm like, no, I don't want you to hit him. So like neither of us want to hit. It's pretty funny. But yeah, I think
I want you to hit him and I want myself to hit the option.
Yeah.
If it's like second ball.
Yeah. We were joking the other week. I'm like the OH2. He's like the M1. I'm just getting out of system balls. He's just in system. No, but I think his experience with Marcus too, his brother playing with him when Marcus had a bad back, like they were forced into it. And I think what Marcus did for Miles did for me, where it's like, no, we need this, mm-hmm. right? We need to do this to compete. And he was right.
Yeah. Well, Miles, you've been doing this for as long as I've ever seen you play. I mean, we chat about that CBVA where you were playing with Dylan Merrick, and you guys were running that system when you were like 14.
I don't remember running it with Dylan. Maybe.
Well, you guys, because
I don't
you
think
were
I could even.
Well, because you were limited though. You were passing for Dylan to option.
Oh, I was passing for Dylan. Yeah. I was like getting
And then you and Marcus, when you were just kind of little runts, like you were jump setting and optioning, doing the setting over. Where did you come up with it? Because that was before Sweden. That was before anybody else was doing it.
Mostly my Marcus. Yeah, I think he wanted to do that. So I like the jump setting and optioning. I liked optioning. I didn't really like jump setting a lot, but I would. And then my brother would want to do like the quick sets and all that. And So it was more him.
Because you guys kind of made it up.
Strategy.
Because, I mean, when you guys were doing it, that was even still when it was uncommon on the world tour. Like you and John were kind of doing that stuff. And Adrian and Alex maybe a little bit. Like you guys were
there's like a few clips we can find that are few and far between. And when I did it, I felt like I was like breaking the rules. I was doing it because it was kind of cool.
Yeah.
I was like, that was sweet. But then I was like, but I think John's probably pissed. Like that I'm goofing around, you know, it kind of felt like that.
Yeah.
But like you probably never like really looked and saw footage of like people doing it and be like, oh, I'm going to implement that as a whole system, right?
Yeah. I mean, it happens in indoor all the time, but not with the hitting, but like just jump setting. But
yeah.
There was a team though that I don't remember what country, but back in
the Schlacht.
Yeah.
I think Australia.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Maybe or kind of something.
I've never seen video of it, but I know that they were kind of like the originators.
It's funny. Gosh, I forget. It might have been after we did your podcast, but a bunch of people sent me YouTube videos of the Schlacks, brothers or cousins. It was funny but every time they would jump set. Like they never optioned.
Yeah.
Right.
So, like, it's not that hard to jump set. It's harder to option.
You're right. it's harder to make that decision. I think that's the most underrated part of it all is the decision making, because it's the best equivalent I can think of is when a quarterback has like a triple option type play where you can either hand off, pull it away, or pass, and you guys have to make that in a split second in the air. How long did that take? Because jump setting in itself is not a difficult skill. Optioning isn't a difficult skill, but when you're in the air and then having to make the decision and then execute, that's hard.
Yeah. And even the timing of it, right? Like with the hitter is completely thrown off.
Yeah. It's hard to have a predictable cadence, but you can.
So how do you do it specifically? What's like the timing? And
I mean, in indoor, cadence is huge with setting. Like if you have a different step close to the ball, like left, right, or right, left, or from what direction you're approaching it. So it helps to set that as early as possible. And I think the better setters do that. Like before the ball's even passed. I don't know. They just give off cues that are consistent. So I think that helps with the like timing of it with the hitter on the third contact. If you're kind of all over the place with each set and taking it in different spots and angles, I think that makes it harder. And the Swedes have like a great cadence. They just look the same and stuff like that. So that's huge.
When I see you doing it, it's just a different, you can see that indoor setter part of your game, like where you're still catching it high, where I'm like, you see me, I'm like freaking over here, like flailing and doing all this crazy, but like you're still, it just feels like in rhythm with you still, and you're still able to catch it high and flick it. And you can just kind of tell that like you've been doing it for years indoors.
Yeah, I do. I said it much different. I said it like way different indoor. I consider it like a totally different skill.
Right.
But it is in the same contact zone, I think.
Yeah.
Kind of. It's a little lower, but yeah. I always like beach setting more. I felt more comfortable.
Right.
Yeah. But indoor was good too. And it definitely helped with all the footwork, like so many sets over those years.
Yeah.
It's like, it's amazing how many sets they do. It's kind of like, I don't know what sport they make it equivalent to, but all the setters are doing, all the teams warming up, the setters are setting, like while they're hitting, they're setting everything. They just set so much, thousands of balls.
Well, think how many more times you've jump set the ball than anyone else out here. I don't know if anyone else is like a high level indoor setter. Okay, not Sweden maybe, because they've been doing this since day one, but I mean realistically, you have a million more reps than him.
Maybe Nikolai.
Yeah, Nikolai set indoor.
Did he really?
Paolo Nikolai, yeah.
I didn't know he was
but he's been on the beach since he was 17?
It's been a long time. He's starting to jump set too.
I guess you have too, yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
It's been actually, and this is a kind of a common question that comes up, is that a lot of teams have taken what Sweden and you guys have been doing, and they've been trying it. And for a lot of teams, it doesn't work very well.
Yeah.
I remember midway through last year, I think Hamburg, I saw George and Andre starting to jump set. And I was like, ooh, I don't know if that's their game.
Yeah.
Is it, would you recommend every team try it? Or do you think it's for certain players and teams?
I think that, I mean, everyone could do it.
Yeah.
You have to shift your game a little bit. I actually thought Andre they got second, or they got what?
They met
fourth?
Or
no, they got
fourth.
Third or fourth.
Yeah.
But they should have won that semi.
Yep.
You know? And then they went away from it.
Yeah.
That's what's scary. You like feel like you're doing something new and that's what lost you the game.
Right.
So it depends how strong your conviction is in yourself and your team, like how committed you are to it.
Yeah.
I would agree. Maybe for some teams, it's not the best route. But if I was going to pick a partner, I would want them jump setting and optioning. It takes a lot of stress. Yeah. Stress off your plate. So I don't think there's like a correct answer, but the worlds have to blend too for it to make sense. So if you're facing like your partner's sideline when you're jump setting, but you're facing the net when you're hitting, like it's not doing too much.
Yeah. And I have to give you so much credit because, I mean, it doesn't seem that long ago where you were talking about how like embarrassed you were practicing at UCLA in the gym. And then in Itapema, it didn't look smooth, the jump setting, but you stuck with it. I remember the first USA practice of the year when you were with Evan, watching you, I was like, holy shit, like it looks like you've been doing it your whole life. Was there like, did it ever click in a tournament? You were like, found it, or has it just been a slowly refining?
I think Itapema was a big one.
Yeah.
I know Miles, we talked for like 2 hours probably on the phone before that. And I think he wanted to make sure I didn't feel pressured into doing it. I was like, well, we practice it. I've been practicing for the last 4 months. Like, I'm not going to throw that training out the window. I'd like to at least see it. I think it does feel smoother over time, but even then it's not linear. There's days where it doesn't feel great. But yeah, I mean, you got to be able to have like a big window to be able to do it in. You can't just do it on perfect passes.
Yeah.
So I think just consistency over time's helped a lot. Like doing it consistently over time and not taking a break from it. And And then if I do start taking a break from it, he'll let me know. So it's great. It's great.
Really, the main goal is trying to see everything as like a growing opportunity and is good. That's one of the biggest things I've learned this year is just there's so much good to be found in things. And like you mentioned, we mentioned like changing some stuff in the beginning of the season and wishing we didn't. But I think you have an article on the AVP website I read about perception and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
And like we can view it like that. Like the fact is we did change some stuff. It probably made us temporarily worse, but you can view it as temporary or kind of a permanent thing you wish you could have got back. But
yeah,
you know, I mean, the whole thing, we do weightlifting. It's like a challenge that sort of makes you weaker, but you get stronger from it. So like all the challenges you can perceive like that. So
everything's a win.
Yeah, I love that.
Everything's a win. I think that's what winners are, is they see losses as learns and wins as wins, and like you just can't lose.
Yeah.
So
no, 100%.
And like the harder your experience is, the more you can learn from it and the more you can relate to other people too, because life is hard. So there's a lot of good around. Like you can just negate bad things and celebrate good things, and it's kind of good everywhere. So I'm really trying to look at things like that. That'd be cool to really kind of train myself to see. So
that's a great perspective to have, I think. And also like the content side, like making a book or whatever, it's just like you're doing all these things, right? So why not share it? And when you step away from the game, at least the way I look at it is like, how can you have the biggest impact? Like, are you going to impact the game the most by having the most W's and, you know, having a Phil-like resume? Maybe that's your thing. But like we all have opportunities in other ways to like leave our mark and whatnot.
Right. Yeah.
And like, I mean, I think it's great to tinker in other ways, right?
And people
on and off the court.
And people don't know where you came from. Like they'll, you know, they'll compare like to this sort of arbitrary standard of what they can see. But if I came from -100 and got to 10, and you came from 0 and got to 20, well, you gained 20, I gained 110. So who's the real winner? Like no one really knows. So it's just kind of up to God to see and actually weigh those things. But so I think it's just kind of run your race and learn from others. But I talked to Andy about it and stuff, but it's like, I think we all have, and there's like an objective world out there that are like, the Bible calls it earth. It's just, there's heaven and earth, or there's the objective world. There's like, I think of a good example is a cup that's half filled. It's kind of, you can't say anything without intrinsically adding meaning to it, or we can't communicate in lack of meaning. But in the best way you can try to describe the objective world is like a cup that's 50% filled, and like you can view it as half empty or half full, and that's the story and we always like add a story element. You have to. So kind of learning that and saying, oh, like I used to think objective world was everything, and like including story was also kind of just all the same. So now learning that, oh my gosh, the story world is super powerful. It's the world of faith and vision and hope and dreams and like heaven. So you kind of choose, you get to choose your thoughts, and you get to choose how you frame what, like Tri said about perception and all that. I'm sure you learned a lot with like life in general, but also the health stuff you went through. And, you know, I feel like if you didn't have that perspective, it would have been way harder, you know? Like
for sure.
So you need to have that. You can call it positive stuff, but, or whatever, but I think like it's almost a miracle. I know this is religious, but it's just true. The gospel is like a story that encapsulates all the limits of possible storytelling, like capabilities. Like the highest God, as high as possible, went all the way down to death. So that's like the life and death theme, like maximized. And then he resurrected. So he like destroyed death. So that's cool. And there's like justice, maximized, like sin, like hell. God's wrath was satisfied, like justice is satisfied. Mercy is like completely like the limits of it. Grace, the absolute limit. So there's no story beyond the gospel, I think. So, and viewing it that way, I feel like Jesus came, he made all the bad things good, and he like gave us just good stuff. So whatever story I'm in, I can relate it to what I think is the highest story. It's like true, kind of, but I view it more vertically, and it's like, it's just the highest story. So like things can be more or less, I view things more as like good and bad or up and down now, as much as more than true or false.
Oh, I like that.
Like, because stories are like, they sort of have this true element to them, but the objective world really does. Like the glass is 50% filled. Like that's true, but how you see it is really up to you. And that's kind of the God you serve, is how you view things, what you give your attention to. So what you worship and all that. So really understanding that, and like, it's made me see confidence. I used to be so concerned and like really confused what a winner was. Like, I viewed some athletes as winners and some as not, myself is not, for a lot of my life. And I was just like, why do I see myself this way? What does a winner mean? Like, I've seen winner qualities in you, Try, and like, how does he have that? Like Trevor, I think has a ton of winner qualities. And I'm like he practices hard, but he's not like David Goggins. So like, I always thought like, to be confident, you have to be David Goggins.
Right.
But like, now I see it as you just apply the story to your own life that makes you confident. So in a way, you just make it up. Like,
yeah.
It's
100%.
It's like just your imagination, as if your imagination is some small thing. Like, people just discount it in this scientific world.
It's a decision. It's like a decision.
Yeah, it's like, a decision.
Why are you the best? Because I said so.
Yeah, because I said so. Lot of confidence
that's
is
Trevor
like, because
in a
I
nutshell.
said so. Like, I have the authority.
Yeah.
Like, why do you have the authority?
Yeah, like,
ultimately, I think God does have the most. But among us, like, confident people are say, why? Because I said so. Like, Trump is like, why do you Trump says like, I know more about healthcare than anybody. He's like, no, there's definitely some expert, but like, by whose standard? Trump's like, my standard.
Yes.
Because it's me. Like, my 10 minutes that I got briefed on healthcare is multiplied by my faith times 1 billion, and now I'm the best. Yes. So he can say it like sort of truthfully,
right? Yeah, because it's his truth, right?
But it is true. Like, I think it kind of is, and the story world has a little bit less of a truth element, more of a high. I don't know. Faith can like multiply. Like, you can have one rep and say, "Oh, that's gonna be the rep." This like one really good hit. That's the best hit. Like, felt super good, and you can say that's gonna repeat infinite times. Like, I know it because I said so. Or you can say that was just one rep. It's not necessarily going to repeat itself. I don't know. Like, I have to prove it again. Yeah. That's the confidence that I had. I was like, well, it was just one rep. Like, God's will is going to be done. I'm not sure if it's going to happen again. Like, we'll see. I'm not going to put any kind of faith into it. Just very doubt filled, or at least faithless or something. I don't know how exactly how to describe it. But now if I get a good hit, I'm like, that's happening again. I know it's going to happen again. Why? Because I said so.
Yeah.
I love
and it's
that,
like,
dude.
It's that manifesting thing, right?
It's just manifesting. That's like what faith is.
How does it work? Manifest? I don't know, but it seems to work. Like,
the Bible
just
deals
think
with
of it enough.
Yeah, the Bible deals with faith a lot. Jesus says it can move mountains. Like, if you have faith and pray, it can literally move mountains, and it's a powerful thing. It can be used for evil, you know, real evil. So you have to make sure to define good like properly. So you can't. If you call good evil and evil good and then apply faith to that, it's real dangerous. And it's like the power we have. Because
you can do it.
I viewed myself as a loser. I don't know why. I just I knew it. Like, I just felt like a loser.
Loser meaning like
even I could win an AVP
losses?
and feel like I was a loser. Weird, right?
Loser, like in terms of wins and losses?
No,
just like you didn't deserve it.
No. I didn't deserve it. I thought wins were luck. And losing was all my fault. Now I think I'm choosing to think that wins are my fault and losses are luck. Okay. And I think that's exactly how Trevor views things a bit, right?
Right. Yeah.
Like, if you do something good against him, he's like, I was lucky. If he does it, he's like, all day.
It is funny.
So I think he's hit on something super profound, and I think it helps him. So
that's so funny. I mean,
I don't think it's false in any way.
No, it's worth acknowledging.
It kind of seems like false, but I don't think it is.
We've all, like, our group of friends since we're kids, it's like, we're talking about this guy. Just like, what are you? This guy's crazy. Like, the famous bet with Riley when they're in high school that he's going to the NBA.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't have money to bet back then. They bet $100. And Riley's like, "Are you serious? Like, you're crazy, Trevor."
But he's
I'm going to the NBA.
he's still
$100.
saying
Let's
that,
go,
right?
right? Now he's.
Well, he
I don't think he gets paid up,
He
and
could be still
exactly,
saying it.
and he still says it.
Yeah, like
he hasn't paid up, and he still says, "I still got a shot. I still got a shot."
Yeah.
But you're right. It is funny.
I think, unfortunately, in athletics too, to get to the top, you have to be self-critical to like fix mistakes.
Yeah.
And it almost breeds that mindset where it's like, oh, I'm not worthy of winning.
Yeah, it can. There's two types.
Yeah.
There's the self-critical and the like uber confident, and everyone between. But
Yeah.
I feel like the confident is better. I feel like the criticalness has helped me, but overall, it's helped me really learn to be how valuable confidence is.
Yeah.